can't see it.
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. Thank you. And we are recording the session for any students who are interested in the program who were unable to join us at this precise time. We'll be able to share the video clip with them after the fact for them to learn more about the program. Kerry, we can go ahead and advance. I think the next slide tells you a little bit. Now we can go to the next one. Yeah. So there's a couple of slides that tells you who's who on the call this morning. Again, I have already introduced myself. I'm going to quickly ask some of my colleagues to unmute and tell them who they are. Amy, I'm going to bump it to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Amy Barrow. I'm the Social Impact Fellows Program Assistant, and I'm the School of Social Work Main Office Manager.
Thanks, Amy. Clara?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Clara Keating, and I somewhat recently joined the UB School of Social Work back in November as Assistant Director of Student Services. So I may have been communicating with some of you. I hope your spring semester is off to a good start. And I'm looking forward to participating in the Social Impact Fellows search this year. So welcome to the info session.
Thanks, Clara. Kerry?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kerry Gardner. I'm Director of Internships and Experiential Learning in the School of Management. I work in the Career Resource Center. And yeah, thank you for joining us. I've been collaborating with Maureen and several others for a few years now on the Social Impact Fellows program. And it's a really great program, and we're looking forward to telling you more about it.
Thank you, Kerry. The fifth individual pictured on that slide, Kaitlyn Hoekster from the College of Arts and Sciences, was unable to join us this morning, but we wanted you to be aware of her role with the program. She will serve as the primary point of contact for students from the College of Arts and Sciences who participate in Social Impact Fellows. Before I forget to say this, if we would, we have a favor to ask of you, a quick favor. If you wouldn't mind, the students who are on the call, if you could drop your name and your discipline into the chat. So your name and MBA or MSW, and if you're from the college, perhaps you can say CAS, comma, and then the name of the, the program that you are in. We would greatly appreciate that. And then we're going to capture that information. So thank you for doing that. And we are just delighted, and you are so lucky, you are so fortunate that we have 3 former Social Impact Fellows student participants on the call with us this morning. And undoubtedly there will be some information for them to share, and likely some questions that you will direct to them a little bit later on during our discussion. But for the moment, I'm just going to ask them each to just quickly introduce themselves. I guess we'll go in order there, starting with Jackie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie Cherry, and I am a third-year MFA student in the College of Arts and Sciences as a dance MFA student.
Thank you, Jackie. Katrina?
Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina. I'm a dual degree MBA MSW student. So I was placed with Rahama this past summer as an MBA student, and now I am focusing on my MSW studies this year.
Thank you, Katrina. And Carly?
Hi, everybody. My name is Carly. I'm a dual MSW MPH student currently in my MPH year. And this past summer, I was working with the Women's Foundation of Western New York.
Carly, do you know that you and your student team members, fellow team members from Social Impact Fellows are on some of the Women's Foundation's like fundraising things?
No, I had no idea.
I've gotten some of them mailed to my house. If I think of it, I'll bring one in and you can pop by my office someday to see it. It's pretty cool, actually.
That is cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Another thing I just want to say, two quick little housekeeping things. We are going to ask you to hold your questions to the end. We have a lot of information to share with you. And it would be helpful if we will have plenty of time, undoubtedly plenty of time to answer any and all questions you might have. So if you could please just sit tight on any questions you have. And also just an FYI, I actually have to bow out of co-hosting duties with this program, with this session at about noon. I have another commitment, and that will not that should be seamless for all of you. Kerry will be driving from that point on. Okay, so we're going to begin by talking a little bit about how the program works. It is a collaboration between the School of Social Work, the School of Management, and the College of Arts and Sciences. Kerry noted earlier when she was introducing herself that we've been working together on this program for several years. So this year, the 2022 program will be the 5th iteration of the Social Impact Fellows program, the 5th go round of offering this wonderful opportunity. Essentially for students, it's a 10-week program, a 10-week commitment from early June through early August, and we are going to get into the specific dates in a later slide. So you will have all of that information. As you might imagine, given the state of the world, it is to be determined whether the Social Impact Fellows program experience this year will be the internship component of it will be place-based, virtual, or hybrid. I suspect it will be either place-based or hybrid. I do not expect it to be completely virtual. We did FYI that the 2021 program was hybrid, and it worked. It was, there were some challenges and some things we had to be particularly thoughtful about and mindful of, but it did work for everyone. So if we need to do that again, we certainly will. And the magic or the secret sauce of the program, and I think the thing that makes it so valuable and so impactful for both students and organizations is the multidisciplinary nature of it. So the reason there are 3 different disciplines collaborating on this, and that we're looking for students from management, social work, and the college, is because we will match students onto multidisciplinary teams working on projects to address social issues that impact our region, as defined by 10 local organizations. So up until this point in time, over the previous 4 iterations of the program, we have had a total of 36 different organizations who have been our partner organizations. 31 of them have been nonprofits and 5 of them have been for-profits. So in a typical year, when we're, it usually shakes out to about 8 to 9 nonprofits and 1 to 2 for-profits. And we expect that to be the case this year as well. A little bit more about how it works. Again, I've already mentioned that the teams, they are multidisciplinary student fellow teams consisting of 1 MBA student, 1 MSW student, and 1 graduate level student from the College of Arts and Sciences. In the past, we've had both master's and PhD students from the college. And again, to build on something that I mentioned previously, so each team is working collaboratively to develop solutions to a particular project or a particular initiative outlined by the organization to which they are matched. So we right now are simultaneously recruiting students for the program and organizations for the program. Competitive process for both. We typically have more students interested, unfortunately, than we're able to select, and oftentimes the same is true on the organization side as well. But on the organization side, the applications that they need to complete, we ask them for specifics about not just their organization, but what is the project or what is the initiative that they would like their student team to address during this 8-week summer placement period. And we read those very critically because we want to make sure that it's a value add and a ultimately a successful and satisfying experience for all the student participants. Students who are selected for the program do receive a $5,000 stipend. That stipend is important to us to be able to provide because we want to make sure that any student who is interested is able to participate. We would never want financial considerations to be a reason a student did not choose to pursue this. And we do tend to pay that stipend out towards the early part of the program. So you sort of get your stipend on the front end versus the back end. And again, that's deliberate so that you don't have to worry about finance issues throughout. And importantly, and if there are any MBA students on the call this morning, you would want to know that the experience does satisfy the MBA internship requirement. The experience, however, for any social work students on the call, this does not meet any field education requirements, just to be very, very clear on that. And with that, I think we're going to take a quick pause and we're going to show you a video that is short. I promise you it's short, but we think it gives, it provides a really good overview of the program. So bear with me for just a moment. And Kerry, you'll just have to let me know if there's any issues. I'm going to start it now.
Childhood poverty is a big issue in the community, specifically Buffalo. So there's a need for beds for these children to have.
We were tasked to look at the Beds for Buffalo program and how we can sustain the growth into the future.
The Social Impact Fellowship is a program that brings together 3 disciplines. We have a fellow from the School of Management, a fellow from the School of Social Work, and a fellow from the College of Arts and Sciences.
I'm a big believer in the fact that our students in the college bring real live expertise to current social problems. So the more that I can engage my serious PhD students, the ones who are serious researchers, in thinking of themselves as actually solving present day problems for people right here, right now, the better off we are in making that bridge outside the academy to show our value to the outside world.
I've been in the department for 2 years. 2 years of coursework meant a lot of reading and a lot of time within the university space. I felt like I needed to be outside of that space. I needed to experience the city firsthand.
Social innovation is coming up with new creative approaches to address societal challenges that we have.
One of the things we know about innovation is that when you bring diverse perspectives together, you're more likely to get innovation.
I think we might get stuck in our own ways sometimes. It's good to have everyone come together because you might be blind to certain things that other group members help you open your eyes to.
Legworks is a for-profit social organization which is quite unique for startups. What we want to do is present what Legworks does in a impactful and concise manner.
I feel very lucky in that our team gets along very well. You know, we're all very open-minded, flexible people.
Abid is very analytical. Derek is probably the most creative person I've ever met. He is always coming up with a new idea. I bring that social work perspective into it, so thinking about human rights, thinking about being trauma-informed.
We always talk about diversity. I think this is what true diversity means, you know, bringing people from different backgrounds together. And I was able to witness this firsthand and how powerful that is.
At the pitch event, students get to showcase the work that they did during the summer. And they're all vying for some small prizes that they can use in order to implement the work that they've done.
And there's been ups, there's been downs, but at the end of the day, we all recognize that we're here to do something positive.
At other universities, it's very hard to get something going from the School of Management, the School of Social Work, and the College of Arts and Sciences, all working together in a city in real time to solve real problems. I think this kind of program makes you be tremendously special.
So hopefully that gave you even more of a flavor of what the program is all about. For those of you who might have just joined a couple of minutes late, oops, hold on.
70% of employees said that job-related training and development.
Okay, sorry about that. For any of you who might have joined a little bit late, if you did not hear me make this request, we would appreciate you dropping your name and the program, your academic program in which you're enrolled into the chat so that we have a record of who is with us this morning. Also, one point of clarification, there's a little bit of a snafu with the captioning in that video. The for-profit organization that's featured is not Lightworks, it's Legworks. We had a student team placed with a local organization called Legworks a couple of years ago. So we're going to carry on. And the next few slides are just snapshots vis-a-vis their logos of all of the organizations that have participated with us over time. So this is When we started in 2017, we had 8 organizations. And we were able to expand moving forward. So, and that's from our first year, our Go Bike team. The young woman on the left was the MBA representative, and the young man, it was the MSW representative. The first year we ran the program, we did not have participants from the college. That came a little bit later. The 2018 organizations, where we expanded to 10 sites. A variety, an eclectic variety of organizations from across the Western New York area. And this is one of our favorite photos from a few years ago. The team that was assigned to a project with the University Heights Tool Library. And obviously this is back in the day when everything was place-based, clearly. And I'm not sure if they named themselves or if somebody from the tool library named them, but they came up with the name of Tooligans, which we love. So we love to share that photo. 2019 partners, Legworks, as you see there in the middle of the slide. And then our partners from last year. And again, this year we are planning for another round of 10 organizations. So we'll be selecting 30 students, 10 MBAs, 10 MSWs, and 10 students from the college to match on 3-person teams to the 10 organizations who are selected for this year. So this tells you a little bit more about the specifics and how this works. So you will, once we make the selections and we'll get into all of this when the application deadline is and when we'll be doing interviews and what have you. But once we make the selection of all of our students, your first commitment will be in early June over the course of 3 days, where you will be participating as a group in a social innovation course. That course will be taught or delivered by faculty from social work and management and the College of Arts and Sciences. I believe later on in the presentation, we'll be sharing with you who the social work and management faculty representatives are. The representative from the college is still to be determined. They're making that decision right now, so we should have that information before too long. Kerry, do you mind? You did such a nice job. We had an information session earlier this morning for organizations, and you did a really nice job of describing the course. Do you mind if I lean on you to do that again for the student group here?
Not at all. I hopefully I can remember everything that I said. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the social innovation course. So we want to make sure that our students have all of the knowledge and tools that they need to be successful during the fellowship, in particular during that 8-week placement period that we often refer to as an internship. So in the social innovation course, the faculty members that Maureen just mentioned will help you to think a little bit more strategically about what is social innovation? What does it mean? How do we define it? How do you apply the concepts of social innovation to the projects that the organizational partners will be presenting? There's a lot of information that gets shared in those 3 days, but it's meant to provide a foundation from which you can sort of launch your own ideas and interact with your teams as you take a look at the projects. One of the things I thought was really great about that video is when Nancy said, we know that when you combine people with diverse backgrounds together, that's when you get innovation. And so that's really the mission of what we're trying to do with the fellowship, is to spark this idea of innovation. And how do you take that and apply it to a challenge that simultaneously serves a population or a community in need? So that's the social innovation course. Shortly after that, we move into the project launch. And the project launch is kind of what it sounds like. It's a 2-day event that serves sort of to be a kickoff of the program. And it's an opportunity for all of the constituencies, all of the players to come together. On day 1, it will be faculty and staff and students talking about, asking questions, talking about how all of the mechanics of the program will work, just sort of building some rapport. It'll be one of the only times that you can get together before the 8 weeks where everyone is in one space. So there's value in bringing everyone together in that fashion. And then on the second day, the sites will be invited and they will participate. And that's a day where you'll get together with your site and your mentor or supervisor from that site. You'll be able to talk about logistics and expectations, make sure everyone's on the same page about the project as well. Now, prior to the project launch though, just a side note, is the organizations will already know who their team members are. So it is possible that the organizations might choose to reach out to the team prior to the project launch, and that's totally fine with us. And that would be a way, again, to just get to know each other and get some logistics down. So if you are selected and participating, you could expect to be contacted by the partner organization prior to the project launch. The project launch is a nice kickoff, though, with a format that we've designed. There'll be some activities, and it overall ends up being a really feel-good sort of way to start the engagement. Directly after the project launch starts the internship. So you launch right into the 8-week fellowship. You can see the dates there, June 8th through August 3rd. A little bit about the commitment. So one of the things we'll talk about in a future slide is what type of students we're looking for. Certainly in this sort of environment that we've been in COVID, we've been hybrid, we've been on site, we've been virtual. There's all different ways to engage, but regardless of the format of that fellowship, the expectation is that there is a daily commitment during the hours that the nonprofit or for-profit organization would consider as their normal hours of operation. So for the purpose of the slide, we have 9 to 5. You might find that that fluctuates slightly depending on the placement, but the idea is that you're available full-time Monday through Thursday during the 8 weeks so that you can work with the organization, potentially work with their constituents, work with your team, and really make this an immersive experience. It works out much better when you are accessible and when you're committed to the program in that fashion. So that's Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, you're not engaged with the site. You are engaged with the faculty that are hosting these half-day sessions, which can vacillate between being instruction, debrief, Q&A, to hopefully, and you can see in the little flow chart at the bottom of the screen there, hopefully there may be some community excursions where you'll be able to do some volunteer work. That was a part of the feedback that we had from participants in the past, that it might be nice for them to engage with each other and get out into the community. Again, some of this depends on what we're looking at in terms of COVID and what our practices are. And I did forget to mention that occasionally a guest speaker may come into those half-day sessions as well to talk about a particular topic. So I know that's a lot of information. We will have time for Q&A as we move it along in the presentation. Maureen, did I cover everything?
Yeah, I just have since unfortunately I need to jump off in just a few minutes. Carrie, if you don't mind, I just want to say a couple of things before you can advance. I mean, you could potentially advance to the next slide if you wanted to, but what I wanted to say in no particular order, in the video, you may have noticed there was some footage of many students working together on constructing something. I don't know if you caught that, but that was from, I think, our 2019 program, which of course was fully place-based at that time. And one of our partner sites was the Service Collaborative of Western New York. And the project was about building beds for underserved students. And there was one day during the 8-week period where all of the 30 students went and helped actually construct beds. And we heard some really good feedback from the students about that experience. We'd love to replicate, as Kerry said, something like that for 2022, it will remain to be determined right now whether or not anything of that nature will be possible. I also wanted to mention that Nancy Smith, the former dean of the School of Social Work, who was featured in that video, she did last year, she resigned from the dean's role after serving in it for 17 years, might I add, serving remarkably and admirably in that role for 17 years. And she will be coming back to the School of Social Work this fall on faculty. But our new dean, Keith Elford, who started in late summer of 2021, is just as committed and passionate and interested in the Social Impact Fellows program as Nancy was. She certainly, I think, part of the transition between the two deans. I think it was important to her to help him to understand the value of that program. So I just wanted to mention that quickly. And the other thing I want to mention, and again, Kerry, I'm sure you'll have time to get into this, but I know students are always so keenly interested in this. Like, do I have any say in which organization I will get matched to? And the answer to that is yes. We will have a process when we are wrapping up the student selection process, where we will be sharing information with students about the 10 selected sites and the associated projects with those sites. And we will ask students for their preference for their top 3. And we have a pretty good track record of matching students to one of their top preferences. We don't have a perfect record, but we have a very, very strong record. And in any case where we were unable to do that match, we certainly were very deliberate in talking that through with the student and making sure that they were okay with the selection to which we match them. So I know that's always top of mind for students. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing I neglected to say, when we had that slide showing the 5 staff members affiliated with the program, Amy Barrel, who's with us, who introduced herself, she is really, you can reach out to any of us at any time with whatever question or concern you have, but Amy is a great point of contact for, because she might be the person who's able to be most quickly responsive to you. So if you did not yet make a note of Amy's contact information, Amy, I appreciate that you've got your email up there with your little thumbnail. So you might want to note Amy's email contact information in particular, because she'll be able to assist you quickly. And we absolutely welcome your questions and comments and concerns after this session today. So don't hesitate to reach out as necessary. With that, Kerry, I'm going to leave it in your capable hands and the hands of our colleagues. And I can't wait for the prospective students on the call to have an opportunity to speak with the 3 past student participants who were so gracious to join us this afternoon. So good luck to everybody. Thank you so much. I got to go. Take care.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, so rolling right along, I want to talk to you for a little bit about the Pitch for a Cause, what we call the culminating event. It is a competition. However, we want to make clear that the value of the fellowship overall is the engagement in the placement or the internship, obviously, and the work and the contributions and the connections that you'll build. There's all kinds of really great reasons to participate in the fellowship. But in order for us to really take a look at the idea of innovation, the Pitch for a Cause provides you with an opportunity to really make a proposal or a pitch. And the students that are on the call maybe can speak to this in a couple of minutes when we get to the Q&A. But it really provides you with an opportunity to make concrete all the work that you've been doing and to pitch for that funding. So we do have funding that is available that would go back to the site in order for them potentially to implement the innovation that you come up with during the placement and the work with your team. So you can see a couple pictures here of the day last year when we did the pitch. They're 5-minute presentations. They are timed. It is run like a competition. There is a panel of judges that are leaders from the community. And they do retain the right for a Q&A. So right after the pitch, they can challenge you, they can ask you questions about certain aspects of your presentation. But all in all, it's about a 5-minute pitch. And then we have a kind of a sidebar where the judges go into a different room and deliberate, and then they come out with their decisions in terms of who wins the pitch. It's really fun. It's meant to be fun, but it's also meant to be a way to showcase your innovations and to kind of prove and articulate that you really do understand what social innovation is. And it's really just a great event for you to kind of communicate the achievements of your team. There's 2 prizes. There's a first place and a second place, $2,000 and $1,000 respectively. So they're not massive amounts of money, but for a nonprofit, getting an injection of funds like that it just means the world, especially if you've worked out a budget for them. So it tends to be a really, really fun, feel-good event. And we try to get as many people attending as possible. We did it in person last year, and we have every intention to do it in person again this year. And of course, there'll be details to follow about that as we move along. This is a picture of the winning team, the Western New York Women's Foundation, from this past competition. This is obviously judging by the smiles on the faces. This is right after they learned that they won. They had a fabulous presentation, but all the presentations really were so great that day. Here's a couple more pictures. Push Buffalo, there's the Push Buffalo team. They placed second in the pitch, and you can see some pictures of our other teams during their presentations. So let's just talk briefly about who we're looking for. I really want to make sure I make time for our student guests to say and contribute to this presentation. And I also want to give you time to ask questions if you have them. I would say overall, what we're looking for is students that really want to make 100% commitment to engagement to all the components of the program. So that includes everything that was outlined on that previous slide. That includes the course, the project launch, of course, the internship. So this means you would need to be available for the whole of the dates that we gave you, early June to early August, and you'd have to be available for the pitch as well. So thinking forward to the summer and thinking about your plans, because we want as much of this to be in person as possible, that means you would have to be present in Buffalo for the summer. We're looking for graduate level students, first year MBAs from the School of Management, advanced year MSW students as of summer 2022 from the School of Social Work, and then graduate students from the College of Arts and Sciences. And I think Maureen mentioned earlier, that could be a graduate level or a PhD student from the college. You need to be collaborative. There's no way, but I know you are. I know you already are through your program. So I know this is not new to you. Many of you already work in teams. You've had team exposure. But the idea is that your interest is that you're going to be with this team all the time. This is not going to be a solo event for you. So there's a lot of acceptance of other people's styles. There's a lot of need for just respect from the diverse points of view that will come into your conversations, as well as acceptance of the site itself. How does the site handle their business? What is their mission? How do they serve their population? Why are they serving their population? So there's a lot of need to sort of open up, be respectful and accepting of diversity, be flexible because things can change during a project. Those of you that have already done like rotations or internships before, you know, sometimes you start with one concept in the middle of it. It might need to be altered. That's always fun, but it's something that happens. And creativity, be a problem solver, and hopefully be a self-starter, because sometimes you'll find that the organization is sort of stumped. They have a challenge they've been trying to address. They really don't have the time, or they haven't been able to really give it the creative thinking that it needs. And so very oftentimes your group ends up being the motivation for the organization that you're serving. You probably have already gleaned a lot of the benefits of participation. One of the things that we're trying to do is really illustrate what social innovation means. What are all the concepts related to social innovation? What goes into it? Because not just in the nonprofit industry, but in any industry in which you work, the idea of being socially conscious, aware of the impact of the organization on the community, on the planet, whatever your interest area is, regardless of what you're doing, thinking about how to be socially aware, innovative, inventive, how to have some angle of being an entrepreneur as you approach your jobs and your responsibilities. There's lots of opportunities for networking. It looks really great on your resume. Lots of opportunities for collaboration, critical thinking, as we said. And the other piece of this is that maybe this is the first time that you have an opportunity to get this far entrenched in the confidentiality of an organization, because in these projects, they will definitely be sharing with you a lot of information that otherwise would not be available just to the public. So you might be able to see what some of their challenges have been. Maybe there's change that's about to happen in the organization that you're made privy to. Certainly, you might be able to see their budget, their goals, their forward-looking goals and their strategies for the organization. They might be engaged in wanting to update and change their mission statement. They might change because of COVID. Their organization may have been impacted. The populations that they serve have different needs now. So there's all kinds of things that you'll be able to learn about. And that's definitely one of the benefits of understanding how do we have a healthy economy. We have a healthy economy by having healthy communities. How do we have healthy communities? That's by understanding the needs of the community and figuring out how to serve those needs from whatever perspective you're coming from, and blending the team together really does provide that level of innovation, I think, that we're looking for. Couple of little notes at the bottom of the screen. MSWs, this will not satisfy any of your field education requirements, but it certainly will enrich your knowledge base, your connections in the community, and enrich your resume as well. And for MBA students on the call, this will satisfy the MBA internship requirement. MBAs cannot graduate without at least one engagement in the community, whether it's in a nonprofit or a for-profit, and this does satisfy that requirement. So the timeline, how that breaks down is the applications are due on February 28th. So that's in a few weeks. Just a note about the form that we use. It's a Cognito form. And unfortunately, you can't start the form and save it and go back to it. You're going to lose everything if you don't submit the form. So our suggestion is to have Word open while you have the Cognito form open, answer the questions in Word, and when you're done, just copy and paste everything into the form and hit submit. Just because we don't want you to do all that work and then lose your work if you need to take a break. So just applications are due in February. We conduct student interviews. There's a menu of individuals that participate in the student interviews. We've done them virtually in the past. I think we're going to do them virtually again. It tends to be a little bit more convenient for everyone just to hop onto a Zoom and do the interview. We'll update you if any of that changes, but those interviews are conducted throughout the month of March. And as Maureen was describing, once you're into the program, once we've done the interviews and we're making our considerations in terms of acceptance and the way we would build out the teams, you will all receive a list of the organizations that are participating, and then you would get back to us with your top 3 choices. And then we do a matching exercise to make sure that everyone gets at least their first choice, potentially their second choice. On occasion, we've had to make some changes because, as I said earlier, life happens. But we've done a really great job of giving the student the match. And we think also very carefully about the team itself. So we look at your resumes, we look at who you are, we consider what you've told us in your interviews in terms of what you're focused on, and we build the team based on all of that information. And then, of course, we have an initial gathering of everyone, and we launch the program from there. Some of the things that we look for in the application are just general demographics. We do ask you to write a brief personal statement, but we provide some prompts, so you're not doing that from scratch. We give you a couple of questions to consider. We want to know what your relevant experience is and why you're motivated, why you believe there's a fit. We look for your current resume. We want a copy of your transcript. It doesn't have to be an official, it can be an unofficial. And then we do ask for contact information for 2 references. Wrapping it up, you see a picture of all the smiling faces of last year's fellows. It's always fun to do this group shot, and I love looking back on these days. It was a beautiful sunny day, and everybody, I believe, had a really good time. And it was interesting because we hadn't been together in so long because of COVID. So it was one of the first times that we were all able to get together and talk to each other in person. So it was a really, really great event. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I would like to open it up to our students that are here to just anything you'd like to say. If you want to say anything about the experience itself, if you want to talk at all about the experience of the pitch, but I'm opening it up to you, our student guests, and take it away, whoever wants to go first.
I can say a little something first. I mean, Kerry, you did a really nice job of explaining just the experience in general and how it adds value as an MBA or an MSW or a College of Arts and Science student. I wanted to say a little bit more about the pitch because I'm in my 2nd year, so I've been doing a lot of social work classes, and we don't get a lot of experience with pitches, if any. So I kind of wanted to emphasize how useful that skill is, and even if it is intimidating or scary, like, it was a really awesome experience last summer. That was the first time that I had ever pitched before. And even as an MBA, we just didn't have the opportunity because my first year was like fully online COVID. So going in person and having to pitch in front of a group of people, definitely scary, but it was a phenomenal experience. It's absolutely crucial to be able to do that no matter what job you have. So that was just like a really key component of the program. And I would absolutely not let it intimidate you and embrace it a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a lot of what you said was spot on for me as well. The pitch was a little bit jarring, but it was great to have that experience. And I'm a performer, so I know how to say a script in front of people, but this was just a different setting. And it was a different experience at the end of not really being in front of a lot of people. But I did want to also point out just having the connection and the opportunity to speak to people in different spaces was really important for me as well. In the dance department, you don't really get to go out and have a lot of these experiences with the business school or even with social work, and understanding how just a lot of things can tie in together. And that's very important to be able to have this experience. It is so unique, but it is so poignant in that we really do need to be able to find the things that that you might not understand from your perspective by speaking to someone in a different perspective with a different discipline. And it's very enriching to have that.
Yeah, I totally agree with what both of you just said. And I think that, I mean, it's come up. So last year was my social work year. I'm currently sandwiched into my MPH year, and next year I'll finish out with social work. And I mean, we've talked about in so many of those classes, a lot of like the interprofessional forum activities. And I think that the social impact fellowship really helps you better understand what transdisciplinary collaboration is, how it can look, and really the transformative nature that it can have in what ideas we come up with, in the problems that we all pick apart, and then the solutions that we can come to. It was a very fun experience, not only like within my own team, but then to watch everyone at the pitch competition overcome the fear of doing the pitch and then successfully do it. It's an incredibly exciting experience.
Yeah, thank you. That just means so much to hear from each one of you. Don't be afraid to speak up again. I'm going to open it up to questions. I did want to mention two quick things. One, in relation to the pitch, those half-day Fridays that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the flow of the program, there is time to rehearse. I do know that the faculty are very helpful and willing to help formulate, take a look at what your plans are for your pitch, and there is time to rehearse. They're really great at being supportive. So it's not like you have no support when it comes to trying to figure out what your pitch will look like. So it can be a little nerve-wracking. I find that I have butterflies watching everybody pitch because I want you to do so well. And I'm like on the edge of my seat watching and waiting to see. And I'm always just blown away by the level of creativity and just how it gets into your, it just gets into your heart to think about these types of projects and to watch the pitch. It's a really, really exciting event. And then the other thing I'll just mention quickly is, and I'll talk about this from the MBA perspective because I work in the management school. We have had MBA students who have made career decisions based on the Social Impact Fellows program. I've had a few students tell me that they are now pursuing careers in the nonprofit industry when they never ever would have even thought that would be something that they would want to do, because you get to understand that nonprofits have to run their businesses. At the end of the day, they have a different mission, they have a different funding source, and very oftentimes for a nonprofit, depending on where your funding is coming from, you're even more closely scrutinized because you need to prove your service model. You need to kind of prove your existence when you're applying for grants, for example, or if you're being audited as a nonprofit. You really have to be able to link the funding to what you're doing out in the community and how that plays out for you. So the MBAs, the students who have done this before are like, yes, we know. But the MBA students who up until this point very oftentimes have been immersed in the business, the for-profit sector, get to learn things that maybe they didn't know before, and it can be very valuable in that way. We're not seeking that everybody makes a career change, but that is a really interesting outcome when it does happen. And some of the other MBAs in the past have reported that they bring this knowledge into their organization with them when they land their full-time jobs. And maybe down the road, you want to serve on an executive board, for example. Maybe you want to get involved in serving on a board from your nonprofit interest areas, even if you're working in the for-profit sector. So it's a really, really interesting opportunity to engage and learn a little bit more about yourself in tandem with learning about being an organization that's looking at serving a particular population. Okay, it's 20 after. I want to just open it up for questions. Who has a question?
I guess I have one.
Go ahead.
Oh, I see Cheryl had her hand raised.
I think we have Nicole, Michelle, and Cheryl all having questions. Is that right? How about, okay, who wants to go first? Michelle, how about if we start with you, then we'll go to Nicole, and then we'll go to Cheryl. Does that order sound okay? Okay.
Is my sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me, sorry. Sometimes my headphones just give up on me. I would just like to know, obviously there's like a huge variety of majors in the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm curious about which majors or which departments have been involved with this in the past.
That's a question that I won't have an immediate answer to, but we can definitely share that information with you. We can also share, there is a list of organizations that have participated. There's information that we can definitely share with you. And Amy and I will collaborate to get that information to you. I can tell you just from my memory that we've had, I believe the student that was in the video was a PhD in comparative literature. I know that we've had a student that was more from kind of a graphic media, graphic arts sort of background. we've had students from all over the college participate, but we can get that information too. That's a really good question. We can certainly share that with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nicole.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hi.
I am curious about the projects that came about from specifically maybe the previous year, and just like what came of them after the fellowship ended, and just like if they were able to be implemented at all, even the ones that maybe didn't win the competition, or if anything just became of them.
I have a really brief statement, and then I'm going to turn it over to Katrina, if Katrina would be so kind to talk about her Rahama experience. But in general, most of the organizations have implemented based on the recommendations to one extent or another. My question is how many? Okay, we'll answer the chat questions next. Hi, Shraddha. Stitch Buffalo, for example, they were one of the winners. I know that they did implement the ideas and they were able to use the money very productively that went back into their organization. We've had projects that have ranged from looking at reworking a mission statement, doing focus group surveys, taking a look at a model for retention of employees. We had one company trying to understand what to do. It was McCullough Coffee. They were a for-profit. They were upset that people were throwing out their coffee grounds, and they wanted the team to come up with environmentally sound ways to use spent coffee grounds. And I know that they implemented that. I mean, we've had projects all over the place, and we do know that they've been able to implement. But I'm going to turn it over to Katrina, because I want her to talk a little bit about the Rahama project. And then I know we need to get to Cheryl and with Angela as well. I'm flexible. I have a few extra minutes if we need to stay on the call to make sure that all the questions are being answered. Go ahead, Katrina.
Yeah, so our team did not win, but we came pretty close, and we caught some attention of some of the judges, which was awesome. And the nature of our project was to develop a business model for Rahama. They're a nonprofit organization that focuses on serving predominantly Muslim women who are victims of intimate partner violence. And what they wanted to do is they own a building on the east side, and this building has a storefront in it that's kind of abandoned. They wanted to revitalize it and turn it into a workforce development center for their clients. So we came up with the idea of building a bakery there. And I did continue working with them. I still am working with them because I just got so attached to this project. And we caught the attention of a couple of the judges who have been interested in helping us to develop our business plan and get some investors involved. So there absolutely is opportunity for you to continue your work with them, whatever organization you're placed with beyond the Social Impact Fellowship. I think it kind of depends on the organization that you're working with and the nature of your project. The project that I have was very long-term. So there was a lot of opportunity for me to continue my learning, to continue my relationship with the director. Some of the projects were a little bit more short-term. I know Carly and Jackie had a little bit different projects as well, and they were also the winners too, if you wanted to hear their stories. But it depends on the organization you're with. But I would say overall, there's a lot of opportunity to continue your growth through the program.
Thank you. Carly or Jackie, do you have anything to add from your own project perspective?
I had a little bit of an understanding of what my organization, which was Push Buffalo, what they did. And I actually work with a theater company that is attached to some of the work that they do. So I just have kind of more of a community understanding and connection with my organization. So that I know that there's kind of a door open there if I do want to continue working with them once I get finished with my program and moving forward.
Yeah, I can kind of share a bit of a different storyline too to both of theirs. And I think that that's the interesting part about this experience is that each organization is going to be very unique, and each experience kind of with brokering those relationships is very valuable. We were originally kind of presented with, what was it, the RPF, you know, kind of like the vision that that group has for your project and for your group. They might have a very specific idea of what they want, and it is kind of the responsibility of the teammates to think through how feasible is this, you know, especially under COVID, you know, expectations and like real world. It was very interesting last year. And so we did kind of work with our organization to tweak their original vision. And then we wound up coming up with a bit more of a short-term program or plan that fit into what their long-term vision was. And if anyone were to want to know more about that, you can always feel free to email me or something. I can throw my stuff in there.
Yeah, Carly raises a really good point that, and I did a little bit of a better job of it than I did earlier. And that is that the companies submit their plan, their project plan, but the team ultimately looks at it to understand better if it's needs to be changed. And so that's part of the experience, is learning, how do we manage up a little bit? How do we look at this project and make recommendations? How do we sell our ideas? How do we kind of push them forward? So Carly, I really appreciate you raising that. That's a point. Cheryl, you had a question. Yeah, I think you're muted.
I am unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Mine's pretty quick, and it's kind of a practical question. Kerry, thank you for the heads up on the application process that we cannot save our responses and come back to it later. So that being said, is there two questions? Is there any way we can get a preview of the prompts so that we can prepare something in advance? Or, and then secondly, if not, does the window time out?
No.
Yay.
It's not. That's such a good question. We should have said that. It's not a timed, it's not like a test. There are some companies that time, because it's part of their process to do that. It's not a timed, it's a document. It's a cognito form. It's just a document. There's no time out for it unless your computer goes to sleep. So, you know, you could copy the questions into Word and just work in Word. And then, like I said, you can paste back, and that's actually a really good question, but that's not something you would have to worry about.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Angela.
I was just wondering, in terms of the requirements to apply. So I read online that you have to have all of your foundation year completed. Hypothetically, if you have all of it completed, but there was one course, which was a biology course, which is fully online, which is just an introductory course that you plan on taking over the summer. So by the fall, you would have everything ready. Is it possible to still do this along with that course?
That is a question for Maureen. I would reach out to Maureen Hammett and explain that very thing to her and have her. Yeah, I'm not the best person to answer that one, because I'm just going to keep saying yes to everything, but I don't want to get myself into trouble, because that's the kind of person I am. But yeah, you need to reach out to Maureen. We want to make sure that we're adhering. I think the idea is that we're not trying to overcommit anyone during this experience, because you'll find that it is very immersive in the summer. And we want you to have a foundation of skill sets and knowledge, so that when you tackle these projects, that you have sort of a foundation from which you can work. But it's not the kind of experience where you can have a lot of other things going on at the same time. But I would reach out to Maureen. She can help you on that. Okay, some of you need to log off. I respect that. I understand that. I thank you so much for joining us. I want to answer the quick question that came into the chat earlier. As a reminder, there's 10 students from each discipline. So there's 10 MBAs, 10 MSWs, and 10 students from the College of Arts and Sciences. So that's how many MBAs would be selected. And year after year, we tend to have a few more applicants than we can actually accept into the program. So it is somewhat selective, but we have a very fair process of interviewing and selecting. And I'm always happy if a student doesn't get selected, an MBA student, I'm always happy to help that student with their internship search, as you know, to look at other opportunities. Okay, Samira?
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Sure.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask, can sponsored students apply to for this fellowship? I'm a Fulbrighter, so I hope there's no restriction.
I believe you can. What I don't know is, are you allowed to accept the stipend if you're a Fulbright? Are you allowed? It's
I would
not
have,
technically pay, but are you allowed to accept?
I would have to talk to my advisor about that,
Okay.
my IIE advisor about that. But I think she would give me the option of either taking this stipend or that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you can't accept both.
Okay.
But yes, by all means, you can apply for sure.
Okay.
We would
Thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah.
But that is an important question to ask, because you need to, I know you need to follow everything very specifically so that you don't put your fellowship in jeopardy at all.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, I guess we will finish our session. Then thank you so much for joining us. I did put my email in the chat in case you want to reach out to me, but Amy continues to be our main contact for the fellowship. But if you want to reach out to me directly about anything, I'm more than happy to help you out. And thank you so much, Carly and Jackie, for joining us. I think Katrina had to leave us. I don't see her, but thanks very much to the two of you. It was nice to see you again. Thank you for taking the time out to answer the student questions. Okay, everyone, well, have a great day.
Thank you.